I like Semenyo. I mean, in a general sense, I was on That's Football last night. You can join me tonight for the Champions League. It was a brilliant night last night, which means it's a 7 o'clock show here tonight again. You know, I like general football, and I think Semenyo at Bournemouth's done a great job. What they're saying in the iPaper this morning is that Liverpool are considering a move for Bournemouth's Semenyo in the January transfer window. Champions believe the Ghana forward could be a perfect long-term replacement for Salah, and a release clause inserted into his new Cherries contract make a move easier. Tottenham and Manchester United are also interested in the 75 million winger. And this would be, as I say, a January transfer move. Also, don't forget to get me to remind you about a midfielder that I hinted at in the summer who has actually been linked to us again that hasn't really been mentioned. So I think in relation to Semenyo, look, I disagree with Lug. I think he's a good player. I think Bournemouth are a very good side. And I think that he's, I don't know whether he's a replacement for Salah. I think if Liverpool wants a replacement for Salah, there's one player in Europe that's a replacement for Salah, and he's younger than Semenyo, and he's absolutely the player that I think everybody should be trying to sign. And funnily enough, it's a player that we tried to sign. In fact, in fairness to Ineos, and I am always fair to Sir Jim and Ineos, I think they've made a lot of bad decisions, but there has been things that I think have nearly worked or could have worked, or maybe they should have made work. There's one player that's going to replace Salah, and I wish he was coming to Manchester United, and his name's Michael Olise. He is the real deal. I think he is the best right winger in Europe beyond the obvious people. I think he is absolutely the player that Liverpool should be going for, and I wish Man United would go for. But Semenyo's an interesting player. He's still a good player. All I would say is that I think it was Talk Shit who were talking about it back in April, that Man United were in advanced talks with Semenyo. We were never in advanced talks with Semenyo. He might have been on the menu, but we were never in advanced talks. We went for Cunha and we went for Mbeumo. End of, close the door. So Semenyo to Man United. I don't know whether I'd say no if it was an opportunity, but you speak to anybody at Man United and they look at you confused. Like, they're like, why would we go and sign a player that can only play in the two positions where we've got Mbeumo, Cunha, Mount, Ahmad, Xerxes, and Bruno can play there as well. And we've also got a couple of youngsters that we want to start developing into the team, like Lacey, etc. So why would we go and spend £75 million and get into a transfer race with Liverpool and Spurs for a player we don't actually need? And it would be like going and signing, I don't know, well, it would be like going and signing Semenyo, because I was going to say it'd be like going and signing Harry Kane, but I probably would sign Harry Kane, even though we've got Sesko. The one area of the pitch that we are absolutely stacked in is number 10. We just don't need one. Why so serious says, what about left wing? No. Semenyo plays off the right anyway, doesn't he? I'm pretty sure he plays off the right for Bournemouth. No, I mean, I think people misinterpret what Amorim's system is if you think we're going to play Ahmad and Semenyo as wing backs. I don't think that's his plan to do that. I think he likes to have a winger that can convert to that position, but I don't think he'd have them on both sides. I think it will be more of a Dorgu, hopefully a Leon, maybe a new signing at some point. But I think he's not going to go with two wingers on the wide. And also, most important thing as well, I like Semenyo. He's a good player, but we're not in for him, and we haven't got loads of money either. So again, even if you agree that he could play on the wing, as Anurag says, even if you think he could play on the wing, would you spend £75 million on Semenyo at the moment? I mean, come on, it's just not where the money needs to be spent. It needs to be spent on the midfield. So I sense that what we're having with this story, because I don't want it to, turn into something it's not. I've had it from a very good source that United are not in for Semenyo for the last 6 months, and it's still the same today. We have those 5 strands of transfer. I think at the moment, the reason we're starting to get an increase in transfer stories is because it's nearly the end of October. There's a lot of teams that didn't do stuff in the summer that need to do stuff in January. There's a lot of teams that have had a bad start to the season and need to do stuff in January. And we're basically hitting what would be the equivalent of the end of March. End of March is the same as October. You've got April and May, and then the window's open. End of October, you've got November and January, and the window's open. And what happens at the end of March? We start to get stories. So we will be used in the 5 strands of transfer in relation to let's throw Man United's name in there to bump up the price and bump up the interest. But we're not going to get into this.